Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand as Manchester United and Chelsea are in talks for a swap deal with Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. I can't speak, physically can't speak, couldn't do the intro because I'm in that much shock that this could potentially happen for Manchester United in the last days of the transfer window. Jadon Sancho going to Chelsea and Raheem Sterling coming to Manchester United. What do you think about this? Is it a sideways move? Is it an upgrade? Is it a downgrade? How would you feel about this deal for Manchester United? I have very, very, very strong feelings about it, and my feelings are, please, God, no. Please, no. Please, 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 no. Why on earth would Manchester United want to bring in Raheem Sterling? I have no idea. There is other options out there that I'd much rather go for. I'd rather go for Chiesa than I would rather than Raheem Sterling. He's played for Liverpool, he's played for Man City, our arch rivals, and he's open to coming to Manchester United. I mean, where's the loyalty there? And also, for me, I don't think he's great outside of that Pep Guardiola system. I really don't. 300 grand a week, his last big contract, 30 years of age in December. For me, it's an absolute no. And I would seriously question anybody who would be at Manchester United pushing for this. I mean, Ineos, for me, have done a great job of the transfer window so far. I rated it a 7 out of 10. Not absolutely amazing, but they've done a good job. Getting Raheem Sterling in and swapping him for Jadon Sancho would just be a massive, massive stain on this transfer window for me. Jadon Sancho, does he need to leave Manchester United? I think he does. I think it's best for all parties, especially under Erik ten Hag. But in a swap deal for Raheem Sterling to Chelsea, it's an absolute no-go. Get in all your comments and I'll update you with the information that is coming out. But a lot of people saying, you know, surely this has to be rubbish. Surely this isn't actually happening. Well, there is quite a few sources coming out on this. Ben Jacobs has spoken about it, The Telegraph has spoken about it, The Athletic has spoken about it. But this is what's coming in from Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs has said, Chelsea and Manchester United have held an exploratory conversation over a swap deal for Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. Sancho is also pursued by Juventus. Sterling not involved in talks yet, but he's open to the move as reported, but obstacles still to overcome with Chelsea first. We also have Mike McGrath from The Telegraph saying Manchester United are set to open talks over Raheem Sterling deal. Talks earlier today between the clubs over a Jadon Sancho swap. So Manchester United opening talks over a Raheem Sterling deal and a swap deal for Jadon Sancho. A little bit of a backstory. Apparently Jadon Sancho is a little bit of a Chelsea fan and Raheem Sterling apparently used to be a United fan. Don't know if he still is. I assume if you are when you're little that stays with you. I don't care about that. I think it makes no sense from a business point of view. And I tell you why. There'll be loads of people in this chat that are saying, you know, Jadon Sancho, he needs to go. Jadon Sancho's not worth much to Manchester United. Jadon Sancho doesn't have the mentality to play for Manchester United. It's not going to work out under Erik ten Hag. And I get that perspective because Jadon Sancho has had a very poor time in Manchester United, let's be honest. It's not worked out the way we thought it was going to. He's not reached any of the heights we thought he was going to. And sometimes you just got to look at a deal and think it hasn't worked out, no matter how much talent Sancho had, no matter how much ability he had, and how much I thought he could have been great for Manchester United. It's just not worked. However, I do still think Jadon Sancho is a super talented player that could do very well for another team. And don't get me wrong, Raheem Sterling has won Premier Leagues. He's had a good career. He's now at Chelsea on 300 grand a week and he's looking for his last contract at coming up to 30 years of age. If we give Jadon Sancho to Chelsea, there's a high likability that Jadon Sancho might do very well. He's a talented player. He's only 24 years of age. That gives Chelsea a player with sell-on value. They could sell him on for more money in the future. They could get more longevity out of Jadon Sancho. We get Sterling back in return. All right, you know what? It might work for a season, maybe 2 seasons. But then you've got Raheem Sterling on this massive wage with no sell-on value and we'd probably struggle to shift him. That is where I'm coming from on this. I've never seen a more sideways move in my life. If anything, I mean, I would say it could be even backwards. But then you look at it and you think, well, at least Raheem Sterling would probably want to play for Manchester United and Jadon Sancho isn't playing for Manchester United currently. but I don't get it. I don't get why Manchester United would be interested in it. I don't think it's the right move for us, and it's just not something I would entertain. But there is grounds to have this conversation, and it is coming out of multiple different outlets. So I would say there's no smoke without fire, and I would say that this is a deal that has something in it. Whether it'll happen, I don't think it will, because I think it would be a silly decision on our behalf to do it. I think it'd be a really good deal. It'd be an excellent deal for Chelsea. I mean, people talk about Chelsea's outgoings. How Chelsea have managed to make as much money as they have, and if they somehow pull off a swap deal for a 24-year-old that is talented in Jadon Sancho, that needs a fresh start, whilst managing to shift a player on 300 grand a week that the manager doesn't want, that isn't even training with the team, if they manage to do that, we are fools, genuinely, in my opinion. Now, if Sterling does come to Manchester United, I hope it goes well, but I just think this deal would be so silly on Manchester United's behalf. I can't get that across enough. And I usually don't like to go full extremes on things, but it's just something that I wouldn't want to entertain personally. But get in the chat what you guys think as well. We have some super chats coming in. MPB says this would generally be one of the worst deals we have ever done, and that's including the Bebe deal. Pete Phillips says no, with a lot of exclamation marks. Mario Cabrera says unless the offer is $30 million plus Sterling, it's a no. Acid23 says I'd rather Sancho rot in the reserves on 300 grand a week than bring in Sterling, who is over the hill and played everywhere else. What's at Ineos doing? Well, they've not done it yet. It's just the talks are there. We don't know if this is actually, going to materialise. Aidan No One says, can we just swap for Chiesa instead? This is what I mean. I was saying, Chiesa doesn't absolutely scream out to me, yes, go and do that. But I would so much rather do a swap deal with Chiesa and Sancho for Juventus than I would with Sterling. I would so much rather do it. Sterling, for me, just isn't appealing whatsoever. And by the way, he's played for Liverpool and City, and I don't think their fans really have great things to say about him, to be honest. There was a time at City where he was very good, and I know he's won Premier League titles, and I think Pep Guardiola and actually Arteta, when he was at City, got the best out of him. And there was a period where he was very, very good, but that period's gone. At Chelsea, it's not worked out the way it was supposed to. He's now dropped out of the England squad. He's 30 in December. He'd be on his last contract. We'd have to pay him enormous wages. I just do not see the positives in it. I don't. And also, I believe that we need to improve our attack. I really do. But Sancho is competing with Rashford for the left wing spot, if I'm not wrong, because he said he prefers to play on the left. He can play on the right. Sancho is years younger than Sterling, and has, he's still got legs, he's still got room. And I don't think Sancho has a future at Manchester United, but I think he would have more of a future than what Sterling would. Maybe not under Erik ten Hag, but I look at it and I think also, imagine having Rashford and Sterling on a combined 600 grand a week. That would just blow my mind. These two players weren't even in the England squad. I mean, I think Rashford, I think he's 27. If he can get back to his best, he's played at Manchester United for a long time. A lot of people say giving him that big of a contract was the wrong move. He was excellent at the time, came off the back of a really good season, but he's hit some really poor form. Been really poor for the last season, and you'd hope he's going to get back into it this year. But taking a risk on another player who's quite similar, that goes through spells of form, can't really finish his dinner. We know that Sterling gets into the good positions, but he can't finish. For an enormous wage again, for me, it just would not make any sense at all. We've got a super chat in as well from the United Stand. I think that's from Goldbridge at home watching. Sterling's had more clubs than Tiger Woods. No, thank you. Dale Elder says, please no, it's embarrassing. He is overrated. Everyone got a very, very strong opinion on this. Why don't we run a poll on it? And we've already run a poll on it from what I can see. Would you take Sterling in a swap deal for Jadon Sancho? Get in the comments down below what you guys think. Dino Jozzy says, it's the same as the Tony deal, never happening. I mean, it's nothing like the Tony deal in my opinion, because Ivan Toney would actually be a good signing, where Sterling would just absolutely... I couldn't see the positives in it. No matter what way you try and spin it to me, No matter what way you try and spin that deal for me, I could not find the positives. And I am someone who finds the positives in everything. Genuinely. Like, genuinely. I always am glass half full. Sterling, cannot see it. Cannot see it. You could sit me down, you could get 4K glasses on me to try and see what Man United would be thinking with this. And I just could not see it in the slightest. I don't get it. I'm seeing panic all over Twitter. I just don't get it. United need to score more goals. Sterling has had good spells in his career, but he is nowhere near the route that Manchester United should be going down. Nowhere near the route that we should be going down. And as well, you're actually helping out one of our rivals for top 4 in Chelsea. You are literally willingly taking a player that they are stuck with, that will not play for them. He's had his number taken off him, who's on 300 grand a week. You are willingly solving that problem for them, whilst giving them a player that, okay, yeah, we are trying to shift. We are trying to shift Jadon Sancho, and we're in a similar position in the fact that he's also on a big wage and the manager doesn't really rate him. But, it's not as toxic as the situation as Sterling is at Chelsea right now. And you're giving them a player back that actually has value, that has years to go in his career that they could potentially resell. It would be a silly move on our part in terms of talent and in terms of money as well. Matty Slim says, never going to happen, get a left back and a striker. I mean, I hope it's not going to happen. You'd like to think it's not going to happen. But also at the same time, it is being reported, so we do have to react to this. And, I always say there's no smoke without fire. And it's not as if they are tin pot sources. It's not as if it's an ITK on Twitter. You're talking about the Telegraph here. You're talking about Ben Jacobs. We've had him on the show before. These are reliable sources. I mean, and it's not the Fabrizio Romano and the David Ornsteins of the world, but they are decent sources that you'd think they have some sort of inclination of what's going on. Woozy says the important question, is he better than Anthony? It doesn't matter. I wouldn't take Sterling. I just wouldn't. We've got Anthony at Manchester United. Do you know what? And this is really clutching at straws. When Anthony came on the other night, I actually thought he looked quite lively and he put a cross in with his right foot. It's baby steps, but he looked like he had something to prove. And again, Anthony has a massively underperformed at Manchester United, but at least he's 24 years old with he's got prospect. Sterling's going on to his last contract on silly money. He's played for everyone. I mean, people say there's motivation, to kind of get back at City and Liverpool, but is there? Or is there just motivation to get a wage? I'm not sure. I'm not sure on it. I mean, I am sure. I'm sure on the fact that I don't want him. That is 100% the case. Let me see what the poll is saying. Would you take Sterling, yes or no? It's an absolute definite no for me. Alvaro Correa says the only player I'd accept from Chelsea, bar Palmer, is Madueke, but highly unlikely. Would rather Sancho just go to Juventus on a permanent deal, no loans. So would I. And the rumour is that Sancho actually wants the Juventus deal. That's his priority. I hope that's the case. And do you know what as well? Which is actually, I don't like saying it, but it is the truth. A small part of me is worried that if we did sell Sancho within the Premier League, so to a team like Chelsea, a small part of me is worried that he would go on to absolutely kill it and would be sat here with egg on our face, looking silly. And selling him abroad minimises that. If Sancho goes on to Juventus and kills it, okay, yeah, we're like, oh, why couldn't that happen at United? But he's doing it in Serie A. He's not doing it on our doorstep. If we gave Jadon Sancho to Chelsea in exchange for Raheem Sterling, not only do I think we're getting a poor end of the deal, if Sancho then goes on to do brilliantly well for Chelsea, we have to take that week in, week out within the Premier League. And I've always said this about Jadon Sancho. I don't like the antics, I don't like the drama, but I am very sure that there is talent there. And knowing Jadon Sancho, we could turn it on and we would be looking silly. So that's another reason why I personally wouldn't want Jadon Sancho to go somewhere within the Premier League, especially not a club that we would be competing with for top 4. It just worries me too much that we would end up looking silly within that deal, to be honest. A lot of people in the comments saying Sancho doesn't suit the Prem. a lot of people do say that, but there is a possibility with the talent he has that he could end up making us look silly if he went to a Chelsea. He is still only 24. These are things you've got to take into consideration. Rudolph the Red says maybe they are doing it to make Juventus hurry up. That's a really interesting point. Manchester United are in a position where we do need to resolve this Jadon Sancho situation. If Manchester United aren't getting to the point in negotiations that they want to with Juventus, and Juventus do really want Jadon Sancho, they hear there might be a swap deal on the cards with Chelsea. That might make Juventus hurry up in terms of hiring their bid or improving their terms. That is something that Manchester United could be doing in the transfer market. We could be playing games a little bit there. But still, it worries me too much. It really does. Just having a look at the recent news that is coming in about this deal. So Juventus are in talks with Sancho. We already know that. Just kind of trying to summarise the deal while we're live here. United want an obligation to buy on the loan deal. Like I was saying on the 2 p.m. show, the reason why I feel like this Sancho exit is taking so long is because Manchester United want the best possible deal, but other clubs don't want to pay $250 grand a week wages to Sancho. United probably don't want to do a massive payoff, and they also probably don't want to pay a big transfer fee because they know that we're quite desperate. So this will probably go down to the wire with Sancho, but I do see him leaving. David Ornstein did just put out recently, I think within the last hour, that it's highly likely that Jadon Sancho will leave Manchester United, with Juventus in talks and Chelsea keen. So Juventus are in talks, and we have been in talks for quite a while with Juventus. United are pushing for a loan obligation to buy. I think Juventus are pushing for just a loan, which, again, like I said on the 2 p.m, wouldn't suit us, and it isn't something I'd be willing to entertain because I guarantee that Juventus wouldn't be paying the full wage. Why would we pay for Jadon Sancho to play for somebody else? It's either an obligation to buy or we keep him, in my personal opinion, but let's see what Ineos does. Chelsea are keen on Jadon Sancho and will be very keen on swapping him for Sterling. Shock horror, like I've just said. Like, they'd be laughing all the way to the bank. Like, genuinely. Like, do you remember when we bought Fred for 50 million and Shakhtar went and popped bottles of champagne? That'd be Todd Bowley in Chelsea. I can't believe Man United's gone and took Raheem Sterling after we've taken his number off him. He's training from home and he's on 300 grand a week, and we get a 24-year-old with talent in return. Absolutely buzzing with that, with a clean slate, a fresh start. Like, of course they'd be willing to do the deal. The fact that United potentially would be open to doing the deal is what's worrying me. United currently are not in talks with Raheem Sterling. It's just that United are considering the options. In the next hours, we will know more about the Jadon Sancho situation and his preference, but it looks like at the moment it's going to be Juventus or Chelsea. But Chelsea only works if it's a swap deal and it's up to Manchester United. First of all, if we were going to do a swap deal with anyone from Chelsea, you know, if Chelsea really do want Jadon Sancho, I'd be, like I said, I wouldn't want it to bite us. I wouldn't want Jadon Sancho to go and rip it up at Chelsea, but if they were offering a decent player in return, of course it's something I'd explore, because Jadon Sancho doesn't have a future under Ten Hag. But us going to Chelsea and being like, let's do a swap deal, and they're like, okay, you can have Raheem Sterling, it's like, actually no. Like, that's not somebody that we're willing to do a deal with you for. You can have Jadon Sancho from us because, you know, we're open to letting him go. But we would like Nkunku. We would like Madueke. We would like somebody with some sort of promise. Even Chukwuemeka, honestly, I'd be interested in. Somebody who's, you know, got age on their side, fits the profile of what Ineos are doing within the rebuild, being a younger player with talent, and somebody that Erik Ten Hag can work with on a fresh start. Not somebody that is going into the last contract, has basically no value, that Chelsea are trying to push out. We want someone with a bit of value. That's the negotiations that I would be doing if I was Manchester United in this Sancho swap deal. But it's just whether Chelsea would entertain that. So for me, priority would be Sancho to Juventus. But if Chelsea are serious about doing a swap deal, absolutely no way to Raheem Sterling. But Nkunku's on the table, we'll talk. Madueke's on the table, we'll talk. Even somebody like Chukwuemeka would definitely be considered, because realistically, is Jadon Sancho going to play under Erik Ten Hag? Probably not much. So that's what the terms would be for me. It's not Chelsea setting the terms. It's not Chelsea saying Sterling or nothing. If you really want Sancho, offer us something a little bit worthwhile. Offer us something that's going to match the worth of Sancho, because despite Sancho's falling out with Erik ten Hag and everything that's happened at Manchester United, he's still 24 years old. He still has value. And we all can remember he was playing in a Champions League final. You know, he had a brilliant career at Dortmund when he was there. He was a really exciting young prospect. We bought him for 70 odd million. Like, let's be fair here in terms of the negotiations. That's what I would be saying. But who would you guys want? Get in the comments down below. A lot of people saying Cole Palmer. I can tell you for a fact Chelsea won't be swapping Cole Palmer. I mean, in an ideal world, absolutely would love that. We know Cole Palmer is a United fan. You know, we know we've been crying out for a right winger with talent. Cole Palmer would be insane, but there's no chance on earth that Chelsea are going to be doing that one. They've just given him a 10-year, 9-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. So 100% they won't be letting go of Cole Palmer. They're probably putting on the table Chilwell, because they know that we need a left back, and probably Sterling too. But both of them are players that have reached a dead end at Chelsea that they don't want to continue with, that we'd literally be helping them get rid of their dead wood, that are on massive wages. And Chilwell's massively injury prone. It's absolutely no thank you. Offer someone with a bit of worth. I mean, Madueke, Chukwuemeka, I mean, I doubt they'd let Nkunku go, but he has started on the bench, hasn't he? A few games under Maresca, so potentially. Let us know in the comments what you would do. But this is news that we have to react to. There isn't smoke without fire. But at the moment, I would just calm down and say, I think what has happened, where this news has come from, I think it's as simple as Chelsea being like, we're really interested in Jadon Sancho, but we'd only be able to facilitate it if we could have Sterling go the other way. Is that something you'd be interested in? And Manchester United have gone, let's have a little think about it. But hopefully, after they have a think about it, after they have discussions, especially with the hierarchy that they've brought in, that value age, value potential, and are really set on multiple aspects of a player to fit in this rebuild, they will come to the decision that Raheem Sterling is not the right option. James Smith says, I'd rather sign back Jesse Lingard and give him 300 grand a week than do this deal. This has to be an early April Fool's joke. I mean, I won't go that far, James Smith. Talk about hyperbole. I won't go that far, but it would be an absolutely crazy deal for us to do. I mean, I'd go as far to say I'd rather have Mudryk than Sterling. And I don't think Mudryk is that great either. African Giant says, there's no N in Chukwuemeka. Please read and thanks. Well, I was saying Chukwuemeka. I was reading the video. I was watching the video the other day of how to say players' names. And the Chelsea one came out. And I thought that was how you said Chukwuemeka. But if I'm mistaken, I am very sorry about that. Felix Gibella says, why aren't we trying to swap Sancho for Chiesa? That's exactly what we were talking about before. I would rather do that deal personally than the Sterling one. It's a no-brainer. And as much as people might think Chiesa's over the hill, alarm bells have to go off when Liverpool are looking at that. Liverpool are looking at the Chiesa deal. Liverpool, for me, have one of the best attacks in the league. That's something we should monitor. Alex Marman says, if it included Chalobah, even that would be better. Yeah, it would, but with the centre-backs we've got in, we don't need Chalobah now. So, again, it's a nothing deal. B Major says, if we go for Sterling and Chilwell swap and they pay the majority of the wages, no, still wouldn't do it. If Conor Gallagher was still involved, could potentially sway me a little bit, but yeah, it's a no. It's a no unless we bring someone really worthwhile in from Chelsea. And it's got to be someone with value. Get in the comments who you would want. But look, thank you everyone for watching. That has been the update. Raheem Sterling to Manchester United in a swap deal with Chelsea for Jadon Sancho. Would you accept it? We've had nearly 8,000 votes in the poll and 74% of you say no and 26% of you say yes. That is actually not as big as a majority as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 90-10 to be fair. But yeah, I think the majority of you understand where I'm coming from on this one. And I think Twitter would absolutely blow up if that happened. I'm just checking to see if there's been any more updates on this. Let me have a look. This is interesting, but I think I'll save that. for Mark on the 8 p.m. show. There's a little bit of news coming out around the whole McTominay and Ugarte deal, which, I mean, I'm not sure on the source, but that's really intriguing. It kind of matches up what I got told on the pre-season tour as well. So, interesting on that. Maybe Eric Ten Hag and Wilcox and the recruitment team that Ineos put in place maybe had a little bit of a disagreement over that midfield signing, but let's have a look. Let's see how that develops. Look, guys, I'll save that for later because I just wanted to go live to react for the Sterling and Sancho news. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your super chats. Thanks for making your voices heard. Leave you for now. Any more breaking news, we will be back. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one.